towards Merrimack Station on that intersection there on 141. So that's the good news. Other good news out there this afternoon, it's really not awful headed southbound on Highway 55. You got your normal slow going into the work zone south of Arsenal, make your way down towards the construction zone near South City. So westbound on 64, you've got your normal pocket of volume. This stop and go now west of Vandeventer, headed out towards McCausey, passing Forest Park, south on 170, your normal delays passing Forest Park Parkway. That left lane is pretty heavy, headed towards Highway 64, southbound 270. Just the one stop and go stretch is near Olive down to about Ladue. South of there, not bad, just a little off the pace passing Manchester Road. Sitting out westbound on Highway 70 now, crossing the Blanchette Bridge. That earlier accident long gone. Westbound on Highway 64 out through St. Charles County. A great run from the Boone Bridge, headed out towards Wentzville. A little off the pace, just a short stretch there right at Lake St. Louis. West of there, make your way to Wentzville. Not bad at all. I'm Frank Ladd in the MichaelSportingOutlet.com Traffic Center.
This is the Redbird Rush Hour on 104.1 KMOX.
All right, we got the Redbird Rush Hour. First one in a while, and I think we're setting a little bit of an angry tone today. Matt Pauley, Kevin Wheeler with you here. Obviously, there's a lot to get into after the series loss in Atlanta, the sweep in New York. Was that, Matt, the first time since '86 the team was swept in 4 games by the Mets? And the frustrating part about
By the way,
lot
that
of
'86 Mets team was pretty good.
Yeah, they were okay. They were okay. A lot to be frustrated about with the team, Matt, but I think the top of the list, without question, and I'm not even sure that there's a 2 or 3 or 4 on the list. I think numbers 1, 2, and 3 on the problems list are the bullpen. You have had so many games that have been one way or the other going into the 7th inning and later that could have changed the course of your season. Now, you're not going to win all of those, but if you had blown half of those, you're 500, and there's a whole different vibe to all of this. But I'm really worried that this bullpen is breaking.
Yeah, or they may already be broken.
Because
right now they are not giving you an opportunity to win games, Kevin. And that's the question for me is how much patience do you have? Because we're talking about this on April 23rd, and we know that it's a 162-game season versus our long-standing narrative that this team can't go get buried in the first month of the season, and knowing that offensively and from a starting pitching standpoint, this team has shown that they are good enough to compete in the division, and it has largely been the bullpen that has caused them to leave a lot of wins on the table.
Last 2 times through the rotation have been good for the starters. Some of the starters have been good all along, right? Sonny's been good all along. Matthew Liberatore has been good all along. Fetty's been solid. When Matt started, he'd been good. Michaelis had been bad, but today he was really good. And
6 scoreless.
You know, the offense is not perfect by any means. It was quiet today, too quiet, right? I mean, you lost a game in part because you only scored 1 run. And the offense has been quieter in the last, 10 days. And certainly on the road trip, the offense was a lot quieter, except for yesterday. The first game against the Braves, I mean, you scored 6 runs. That's not the end of the world. But you only scored 9 runs in 4 games against the Mets. So, the offense hasn't been killing it, but the bullpen is much more of an acute problem to me, Matt, for a couple reasons. One, those are games on the line that are winnable at the latter part of the game, and you're losing them all. You're not winning those games. I'm not even talking about just the extra innings games, but the games that are close late, you're losing almost all of them at this point. You cannot get to your closer ever. I mean, you did yesterday, but that was only after the lead became 6 runs. It wasn't even a save situation, but you might as well use him because he hadn't pitched in 5 days. But what I worry more about with the bullpen, and, I thought we talked about this on DGS a little bit ago, Matt. I thought Dave asked a really good question, and that was, why is it different for Ryan Fernandez or Chris Roycroft? Why would it be different for them than it is for, say, Jordan Walker? Why will we play through it with Jordan Walker when he's struggling and not so much with these guys in the pen? And my answer, see if you agree, was, well, one, there are 9 players in the lineup every day. So if one guy's not functioning or 2 guys aren't functioning, 7 others can. But when you're a relief pitcher, you're on an island. You're like a cornerback in football. If you fall out of coverage, it's a touchdown. And if you blow a lead, if you go out there and give up a 2 or 3 spot and you do it all the time, you're losing games. And in the case of a guy like Fernandez, you're also mentally shot, and it impacts other guys because we've seen Maton and Leahy ridden too hard because you don't trust anybody else. And Romero's breaking down, and King has been up and down. They can't use Fernandez, although they're using him in leverage and he's getting killed, and they won't use Matt Swanson. So when you have a guy or two that's really bad in the pen, it actually does damage the performance of other guys in the pen.
Yeah, so there's a lot of criticism today of Oliver Marmol, and I think part of my response to that is, like, what do you other than use Matt Swanson? Like, because he's an arm that's
at
out
some
there
point, by the way,
that hasn't been used. Like, that's the only thing that he can do that he's not doing right now. When more than half of the guys that you run out there are just not performing. I thought John King pitched okay today. He kind of got dinked and dunked around, and it's been more good than bad for the most part with King, but not really good. He might be like on that next group of guys that you kind of trust.
He's not terrible, but he's kind of in the middle right now.
Right. Yeah, you've had some good moments from Romero, but he hasn't been really good lately. Basically, you have Kyle Leahy, Phil Maton, and if you can get to him, Ryan Helsley as the only relief pitchers that you can really trust. So, I was seeing the social media stuff today, and I was seeing some of the text messages that came into us, and everybody was killing Ollie for the decisions he made, and we can certainly talk about him putting Fernandez in that spot, a very specific thing. But when you take a step back, like, what is this man supposed to do right now when they just have so little available in the bullpen that is actually producing at any type of high level?
Yeah, I think we criticize him. I'm going to criticize Ollie for what he's part of, and I'm going to criticize Mo in the front office for what they're part of. They didn't address this adequately. They wanted to see the young arms, and they said all along, hey, we're going to – even Ollie said this, I think, Tuesday this week on Gas House Gang, that, hey, we're going to use Memphis. We're gonna try to keep it fresh. But you've only made one move. You sent one guy down, and it's time for another. For Ryan Fernandez is good. He needs to go down. Forget the team at this point. Forget winning games. He's not capable of getting major league hitters out right now, and you're not helping him by putting him in these spots.
You're not. He's not getting better. I think at this point, taking some pressure off of him and getting him to Memphis makes all the sense in the world. I also take issue with, look, if this team would have just been all in on the transition year thing and the runway year thing, and if they wouldn't have sent Chris Roycroft down because they said, we're just going to keep giving him big league opportunities, and it was all the young guys that they're focusing in on, then I would have a little bit of a different take on this. But it's Phil Maton who threw 13 of the first 23 games. It's guys who have been used in high leverage previously, Jojo Romero and Ryan Fernandez, guys like that who you're leaning on, and again, completely staying away from Matt Swanson. So I don't think the motivation for what's happening right now is because they want to give runway to young guys. That's not actually what they're doing. What they're doing is they're going with guys that they've used in those roles previously or who have been used in those roles previously, outside of Kyle Leahy, who's the guy who's really broken through in this first month and is being trusted in a very big way.
Yeah, and he pitched in his 13th game today. So you're going to break him too, right? This is the problem. That's why I'm talking about how important these moves are. It's not just because you're losing games, and it's not just to help the player. When you can't use Fernandez and they won't use Swanson, so you got two people that you're trying actively to avoid in any kind of leverage situation, you're going to risk breaking the guys you can rely on, and if they break, you're done. Like, if you think it's bad now, think about how bad it will be if Maton has to go on the injured list in May because he's working too much, or because his performance drops off because he's working too much. I mean, I think there's a balance to all of this. And I think we're going to spend most of the show going through not just, beating up on the manager or the front office or talking about the specific players, but this is bigger than whether you're winning or losing, even though that matters. It does matter that you're not winning games you have a chance to win, because I think I'll make the case later, Matt, I'll see if you agree, that this team not only could be better than they are right now record-wise, they should be. They should be better than they are right now, right?
I think that's an inarguable point.
All right, we're going to dive into that. More on the pen. Who are the options to come up? We can talk about that, too. It's Matt Pauley and Kevin Wheeler with you here on the Redbird Rush Hour on 104.1 KMOX.
Traffic from the MichaelsFlooringOutlet.com Traffic Center.
We've got your normal pocket of volume out of the city, westbound on Highway 64 from west of Grand, then in pockets again passing Forest Park as well. Stop and go through that stretch headed towards Big Bend. Southbound 170 are on the brakes now between Delmar and 64, especially heavy that left lane approaching 64 from about the Parkway on down. Southbound on 270, not bad this afternoon, making your way west. Just the pocket of volume at Olive approaching that work zone at Ladue. A little sluggish south of there, Manchester Road down to Doherty Ferry south there. Great run headed towards Highway 55. The work zone is heavy southbound this afternoon in 55 from south of Arsenal. Make your way through the road construction there. Westbound on Highway 70, light free this afternoon passing Lambert Field. Headed out past the Blanchette Bridge into St. Charles County. Westbound 64, a great run as well from the Boone Bridge all the way out through Lake St. Louis. Just a little off the pace in that Lake St. Louis stretch. We're sponsored by Siding Express. Transform your home with beauty and durability of James Hardy Siding. At Siding Express, we specialize in James Hardy Siding installation. Visit sidingexpress.com today to schedule a free consultation. That's sidingexpress.com. I'm Frank Glenn in the MichaelsFlooringOutlet.com Traffic Center.
Tomorrow, some of us will wake up and it will be our last day on this earth. It will be unexpected and without warning. Each year, 250,000 people will die from medical malpractice, the third leading cause of death in America. 43,000 will die in a car or truck crash. 6,000 will die working on the job. I'm John Morgan of Morgan & Morgan, and we represent many of these families. It's awful. Unfortunately, many times, some of these family members are not speaking and never get to say, I'm sorry or goodbye. If you're at odds with a loved one, listen closely. Pick up the phone. Call them. Say you're sorry. I promise a huge burden will be lifted from your heart and your soul will be renewed. Even if you're not wrong in your own mind, it doesn't matter. Death is bad enough. Death without closure and love will follow you the rest of your days. Trust me on this. Morgan & Morgan. Injured? Dial Pound Law or visit forthepeople.com for an office near you.
Success is picking up extra shifts for your family. Now you want to be the boss. Success is getting your foot in the door. Now you want to take the next step. Success looks different to everyone, and University of Maryland Global Campus can help you reach your goals. And there's never been a better time to get started on your future. Apply now and save with no application fee. Classes start May 14th. As an accredited state university, UMGC has been transforming lives for over 75 years. With more than 135 undergraduate and graduate degrees and certificates, online and hybrid courses, personalized support, financial resources, and lifetime career services, achieving your dreams is more possible than ever before. Choose the program that's right for your career goals and get started on your next success. Get your application fee waived now. Classes start May 14th. Learn more at umgc.edu. Certified to operate in Virginia by Chev.
Hi, Mia here at the winnings desk of the Missouri Lottery. With 56 million winning tickets last year, anyone can win big. So set your destination to winning, like gas stations, grocery stores, or anywhere you can buy a ticket. The Missouri Lottery. Winners welcome and play responsibly.
You're listening to the Redbird Rush Hour on 1041 KMOX.
All right, Redbird Rush Hour on 1041 KMOX. Matt Pauley, Kevin Wheeler with you here until top. And, of course, Matt's got Sports Open Line following that. A lot more baseball coming your way here on KMOX. All right, so let's get into another part of this pen. And by the way, if you're watching on the stream, YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, feel free to throw in your comments into the chat. Comments, questions, whatever you want it to be. It can be any of the things along those lines. Just don't use any bad words. Just try not to. Because we won't read those on the air and we won't put it on the screen. We probably could put it on the screen, but can't read it on the air for sure. All right. One other thing on the bullpen, Matt, before we move on to the options and what they could do here in the next 24 hours to kind of give themselves a little bit of a freshening up, if you will. But just a simple message that I would deliver, and I think this is true for 30 Major League Baseball teams right now, unless you're the Dodgers, the Yankees, one of these surefire teams that scores a lot of runs. If you have a pitcher on your staff, they have to pitch. They have to pitch. You cannot hide anybody. And you definitely can't hide anybody when you've been running a six-man rotation. They all have to pitch. They need to put Matt Swanson into spots, not because you're learning about him, but practically you need the work. And how else are you going to build trust if the guy never, ever appears in games?
look, they made the decision to put him on the 40-man roster in the offseason.
Yeah.
When you make that decision, part of that decision has to be, especially when it comes to a relief pitcher, because you roll through so many relief pitchers in a season. If you're a relief pitcher and you're on the 40-man roster, you're going to get some innings in the big leagues. And when you make that decision with Swanson, you've got to go into it knowing that this is a guy who we have to be able to trust to pitch some big innings if the time and temperature of what's going on with the team merits it. And that's what's going on right now with the team. They are in a spot right now where they need Swanson to be able to be in there.
Yeah.
And if internally, again, I think this applies to relief pitching more than it applies to starting pitching or position players, because you're going to put people on the 40-man to protect them when we're talking about those other spots.
Right.
But when it comes to relief pitching, if you don't feel that way about a guy, well, then don't put him on the 40-man roster and go find somebody else.
No, and it certainly wouldn't have been ideal to put Matt Swanson into the game today in the 8th inning with a couple guys on in the game on the line. Like, that's not ideal. It's probably better, though, than the guy that's been getting destroyed, who has no confidence at all at the moment. But the point is, if you had been using Swanson normally in the last 4 or 5 days, you might have had Maton available. You might have had a little more wiggle room with Leahy. You might not have had to be so stingy with all this. And again, it all piles up. And the fact that we're here in April is scary as hell.
Okay, so let me add one other thing to that, Kevin. If you would have been using him over the last few days, you would have actually known something about him.
That's exactly right.
If he got destroyed over the last couple of days, guess what? He's probably not on the roster anymore. He's back in Memphis, and they've got somebody else here who maybe they're more comfortable with. So part of you're afraid to pitch him in a situation like today. Part of that being because you don't know what you're going to get out of him.
Yep.
And you don't know what you're going to get out of him because you haven't pitched him. It's just this stupid cycle that keeps going around.
Got to use what you have. All right, Matt Pauley, Kevin Wheeler with you here. We're going to talk about the options moving forward. Is Matt's to the pen more on a full-time basis a realistic thing? Who else is at Memphis that could be on the way up? We'll get into that and more coming up on the Redbird Rush Hour on 104.1 KMOX.
Start your day with an edge.
Total Information AM.
It's like breakfast for your brain. I wake up, I turn on the news.
I gotta listen 3 or 4 times every day.
Debbie Monterey, Megan Lynch, Tom Ackerman.
I like to wake up with the news.
Total Information AM.
It's where I get my news. Traffic conditions and potential weather that's coming.
If it's gonna rain, I want to know.
Total Information AM. Weekdays 5 to 9.
I like to turn it on and just get caught up.
Where I get my news. The news, weather, and traffic.
On the voice of St. Louis, KMOX.
Farming's hard. To feed the world, farmers have to work the land, brave the elements, and fight the battle against weeds. Weeds reduce crop yields, so prices go up and everybody gets less to eat. But 50 years ago, farmers got a new tool to fight weeds, glyphosate. It kills weeds while protecting the harvest. Time and again, it has been approved by the EPA and by leading regulatory bodies around the world. It helps enable practices that reduce erosion and keep soil healthy, which is good for the earth. Farming's hard, but it's a little easier with glyphosate. Learn more at go.bayer.com/glyphosate. Paid for by Bayer.
Hi, my name is Christina Straight, the owner of Straight Realty, and I'm asking you, what do you want in a realtor? Do you want experience? I've been a broker for over 21 years. Do you want to know how much I've sold? I've sold over $500 million, yes, $1 billion with a B, in sales. Do you want value? I now list properties for only 2%. So, if you're looking for all these things and want the best, then call me 314-441-4444. Why pay more than 2? You can also listen to my podcast on my website, straightrealty.com.
Commissions are not regulated and unenforceable. Straight Realty is a licensed broker in the state of Missouri.
Baseball is back, and this season there are more ways than ever to watch your Cardinals on FanDuel Sports Network. As always, you can watch FanDuel Sports Network through TV providers including DirecTV, Spectrum, Xfinity, Fubo, and more. New for 2025, you can subscribe directly to FanDuel Sports Network and stream the Cardinals without blackouts. And for a limited time, you can get started with a 30-day free trial using code CARDS30DAY when you sign up at FanDuelSportsNetwork.com. Visit Cardinals.com/TV to learn more.
Join KMOX broadcasting live from Chesterfield Valley Nursery, Saturday, April 26th from 8 a.m. to 10 a.m. Take advantage of special offerings for Customer Appreciation Day. Saturday, the 26th at Chesterfield Valley Nursery, just east of the entertainment complex.
I had the worst dream last night. You were in a car crash and the kids and I were on our own. We had to move out of the house because I couldn't afford it anymore.
That's awful, hon.
My brother got life insurance from Ethos and it only took 10 minutes. And he got $2 million in coverage for around $2 a day. It's all online. No medical exam. He just answered a few health questions right from his house.
Ethos, here we come.
Visit ethos.com/radio. That's ethos.com/radio.
Sample rate is a 10-year term life policy for 35-year-old healthy, non-smoking male. Billed monthly.
Will new tariffs impact small businesses? Rising costs and economic uncertainty can hurt your bottom line. But with Swish Funding, your business can stay strong. We offer fast, flexible funding solutions from $10,000 to $2 million for working capital, cash flow, and more, and as little as 24 hours with no collateral needed. If your business earns at least $50,000 per month and has been around for over a year, you could qualify today. Go to swishradio.com and use code RADIO. Swishradio.com, code RADIO.
Whether you're shaping up a small yard or tackling serious acreage, Steel walk-behind, zero-turn, and stand-on mowers are built to get the job done. Shop online or at your local Steel dealer. Steel, let's go mow.
Traffic from the MichaelsFlooringOutlet.com Traffic Center.
Westbound on Highway 64, you're on the brakes now from about Jefferson up to what looks like could be an accident just west of Grand. You're coming to about a complete stop on the Grand camera. West of there on the Tower Grove camera, all lanes are back open. You're back on the brakes now westbound on 64 at Kings Highway out to about McCaws and southbound 170. You got that normal pocket volume, especially that left lane from the Parkway down to 64. Southbound 270 heavy at Olive. South of there, not a bad run passing the work zone at Ladue and Highway 64 down towards Manchester Road out of the city. Southbound on Highway 55 this afternoon, you're going to run into volume on the South Broadway end headed towards the work zone. South of there, not bad, headed towards Highway 270. Delay free essentially through St. Charles County, westbound on Highway 70, westbound on Highway 64. No major delays, I should say, just a little off the pace westbound on Highway 64, passing Lake St. Louis. I'm Frank Ladd on the MichaelsFlooringOutlet.com Traffic Center.
At 5:32, cloudy and 75 downtown. Long lines at the Vatican as mourners filed past the coffin of Pope Francis, which is now on public display inside St. Peter's Basilica.
The body of the Pope is now lying in state inside St. Peter's Basilica. His simple wooden coffin will be on public display for 3 days.
As the coffin was taken into St. Peter's Basilica, bells began to toll and a ripple of applause broke out from the crowd. It was quite a sight to see.
CBS News senior correspondent Nora O'Donnell is at the Vatican.
This is a somber moment for the Roman Catholic Church, but the sentiment from the faithful here is gratitude. Just in talking to people, there's a sense of pride in who Pope Francis was and how he led the church.
The waiting time to file past the Pope's coffin has been estimated at about 4 hours. The funeral is set for Saturday. Fred Bottomer, KMOX News.
The FDA is out with a warning for those who use popular hair loss drugs.
The FDA warning is over topical finasteride, the hair loss treatment sold by providers like Hims and Keeps.
This is the future of healthcare. This is Hims and Hers.
The warning is over side effects not listed, like sexual dysfunction, depression, and suicidal thoughts. While the FDA has approved 2 oral finasteride treatments, no topical ones have been. They typically come in foam or are put on the head in drops. Unlike drug makers, telehealth companies like Hims do not have to disclose side effects. Matt Piper, CBS News.
In some reported cases, side effects continued even after people stopped using the product. The year-round cost of running the Brussels or State of Illinois ferry is free to drivers, but it costs the state about $3 million. The Grafton Ferry opens Friday, and the mayor, Michael Morrow, wants it to become a 365-day operation.
Mayor Morrow says the Grafton Ferry would not operate 24 hours.
We're running it for the morning and evening commutes, maybe up to about 10 o'clock, and the ferry task force is working through all of those issues.
And Morrow tells KMOX Grafton's industry is tourism, and the ferry is a big draw in addition to being good for commuters.
We're looking at different options. One of the options in IDOT, I got to say, and also we're working with MoDOT, IDOT's been extremely helpful with us. They are the ones that gave us the $250,000 grant to conduct the ferry study. And when we applied for that, they also asked us if we do a regional ferry study on the Brussels and on the Golden Eagle. And we even went as far as to look at the Cave Run ferry and so forth, because there's different options on how to run these.
Maria Aquina, KMOX News.
More clouds tonight, low 59. For tomorrow, a few scattered showers, maybe a storm late in the day, otherwise sunny with a high of 82. And for Friday, periods of showers, a few storms with a high of 78. Right now, some clouds and 75 downtown at the Arch. I'm Michael Calhoun, KMOX News.
The legendary Fast Eddie of Fast Eddie's Bon Air and Cardinals Hall of Famer Jason Isringhausen.
Hey, Izzy, what's going on, man? Looks kind of like you got something on your mind.
Well, Eddie boy, I'm thinking you may need to change the name of your place from Fast Eddie's to $5 Eddie's.
$5 Eddie. Man, why in the world would I call it $5 Eddie?
Well, I was in there the other day and bought myself the coldest beer I've ever had in my life, and I gave the guy $5. And then I went over and got some of those huge cold water peel and eat shrimps, and I gave her $5.
Well, I never really thought about that. There's a lot of $5 going on in there.
And then I went back up and got one of those huge Fast Eddie cheeseburgers, and I gave them $5 again.
Man, definitely has a ring to it. I think there's a lot of $5 going on.
Yeah, and I had about $100 worth of good time.
Well, that's good to hear, and it's easy to do with live music 7 days a week and a big old party going on that big, beautiful outdoor patio.
Well, like Mr. Shannon always says, if you're 21 and in the mood, head on over to Fast Eddie's Bon Air in Alton, Illinois, and maybe take a selfie on that old Harley Davidson of mine.
Who else has got a Cardinal Hall of Famer's Harley Davidson sitting out on the patios for some selfies?
Only Eddie boy.
I went hands-free.
I went hands-free.
I went hands-free.
I went hands-free with Skechers Slip-ins.
Join the millions of people who are celebrating going hands-free with Skechers Slip-ins. Footwear you just step into and they're on.
It's crazy how something as simple as a pair of shoes have made my life better.
After trying Skechers Slip-ins, I want all my shoes to have this technology. See what everybody can't stop talking about. Go hands-free with Skechers Slip-ins at a Skechers store, Skechers.com, or wherever stylish footwear is sold.
Working as a dedicated Fidelity advisor, I always ask, what's important to you? I'll look at those priorities and goals alongside your full financial picture to build a comprehensive plan designed to help grow and protect your wealth. With proactive portfolio insights and an eye on taxes, I'm here to help you make the most of your money. I'm Laura Maxwell, and I'm a dedicated Fidelity advisor. Learn more at fidelity.com/wealth. Investment minimums apply. Fidelity Brokerage Services, LLC, member NYSE, SIPC.
Another RX Watch, brought to you by Onder Law.
There's an evil new twist in the tragic story of baby powder and its link to ovarian cancer. Recently uncovered documents reveal that talc can contain asbestos.
The same asbestos that we know causes mesothelioma.
Right, and ovarian cancer.
In the 1970s, the industry wrote its own rules, allowing Johnson & Johnson to claim that its talc was asbestos-free, as long as it contained less than 1% asbestos.
Of course, Johnson & Johnson helped write those rules. So while we're using hazmat suits to remove the asbestos from our homes, Johnson & Johnson was telling women it's safe for their bodies.
Unbelievable. So if you've used talcum powder for feminine hygiene and contracted ovarian cancer, call Onder Law at 1-800-RX-WATCH.
They've already won several large verdicts against Johnson & Johnson for women just like you.
Call Onder Law at 1-800-RX-WATCH. That's 1-800-RX-WATCH or go to rxwatch.com.
The choice of a lawyer is an important decision and should not be based solely upon advertisements.
SNL Coin. We buy gold and silver coins, silver and gold jewelry. Also buying gold-filled and silver plates. Before you sell, call SNL. 314-544-3600. 314-544-3600. SNL Coin.
You're listening to the Redbird Rush Hour on 1041 KMOX.
All right, Redbird Rush Hour, Matt Pauley, Kevin Wheeler with you here. Matt, we can dig into it a little deeper as we go. We're getting some comments as well, so if you're joining us on Facebook, on YouTube, or on Twitter, go ahead and throw in thoughts. It can be questions, comments, whatever you want. We'll get those into the mix as we go through the rest of the show here. How many options do you think they have right now for addressing the pen? Like, as an example, does more mats in the bullpen and less six-man rotation make sense until this thing stabilizes? Who could be, in your mind, called up? That would be the most obvious answer if you do want to give Fernandez a reset down at AAA.
Riley O'Brien's the first guy that jumps out at me. Give him another opportunity. If you're looking for somebody who can eat innings, Gordon Graceffo is there. And I think, especially if Matz is in the rotation, having Graceffo available. And I'm not totally against looking outside at this point. If David Robertson is just sitting out there. Tristan McKenzie is a guy from Cleveland who just got let go, and the Cardinals have connections to the Cleveland organization now because of Rob Cerfolio.
Put a claim on him. He's not cheap, but he's not super expensive either.
Right. So just look, there's different things you can do for sure. And I think what I'm stuck between is like how much is an overreaction and how much is just getting the Band-Aid on this thing right now so it doesn't hurt you for all 162.
I think that's the bigger point, right? Yes, we want to help Fernandez get right. And yes, performance is hurting you and costing you games. But I think the bigger thing is not letting this grow to the point where it damages other guys. Right. You know, because you're out, again, we already hit this, but you've got too many pitchers that you just won't use. And by the way, not many guys pitching well. You mentioned King. He's walking 5 guys per 9 right now. And Jojo Romero is walking 6.5 per 9. Those numbers are not sustainable, and they show a possibility that it could get even worse. I think you got to do something. All right, so we'll talk more about O'Brien and a couple of the specific options in just a second. Here's the Redbird Rush Hour here on 104.1 KMOX.
Traffic from the MichaelsFlooringOutlet.com Traffic Center.
Well, looks like they got the accident out of the way. Westbound on Highway 64, starting to see some movement now on the Vanaventer camera. The accident looked like it was at Boyle. They were talking about moving it off to an exit ramp. So that's good. However, the damage has been done. You've got delays now starting at Jefferson westbound on Highway 64. So use some caution there as you make your way headed out to Cass Grand. You're back on the brakes again after you pick up some speed west of the Science Center out to McCausland westbound on Highway 64. You got your normal pocket of volume southbound on 170. From the Parkway through to 64. Eastbound 64 looks good this afternoon. Headed towards the Poplar Street Bridge. North County, no delays this afternoon between the Interbelt and the Chain of Rocks Bridge on Highway 270. Westbound on Highway 64, a little off the pace passing Lake St. Louis. Make your way out to Wentzville. We're sponsored by Overhead Door Company of St. Louis. If you need a new garage door, this could be your lucky day. Entries are now open for the $5,000 sweepstakes at Overhead Door Company of St. Louis. Enter now at overheaddoorsstlouis.com. You can't win if you don't enter at overheaddoorsstlouis.com. I'm Frank Lett on the MichaelsFlooringOutlet.com Traffic Center.
This is the Redbird Rush Hour on 104.1 KMOX.
All right, we're right back here on Redbird Rush Hour. Matt, Pauley, Kevin Wheeler with you. All right, let's go quickly through a couple of the options, Matt. I mean, obviously, Steven Matz is in the pen for now. I don't think that's a long-term plan. I know they want to get back to the 6-man. I'm not sure that's a great idea. Not with the way the bullpen's going. Again, you know, when you have Jojo Romero walking 6.5 per 9 and only striking out 5.5 per 9, and obviously Fernandez we've talked about a lot. John King is 5 walks per 9 innings and only 4 strikeouts per 9. Those things can't sustain. They just can't. And Jojo looks just as bad right now as Fernandez does, but I just don't know there's a left-handed option anywhere in your organization that you would call on. But Matt staying there is only one part of a solution, because you still need to add another arm if you're going to send Fernandez down. If you're not, well, then Matt's going to be that guy. I think Riley O'Brien's definitely worth a look. Okay, I mean he's 30 years old. If you're not going to find out something about him now, you might as well just move on. I don't mean this minute, but this year you got to find out about Riley O'Brien. He's got 14 strikeouts in 8 innings at Memphis, and he's got a string, I think, of 6 or 7 strong outings in a row. I think he's the right choice for the moment. And if he stinks, he stinks. But it can't be any worse than what you're getting out of Fernandez at the moment.
Yeah, his run is, it's not quite what so he has appeared this year at Memphis in 7 games. He has given up 4 runs. 3 of those 4 runs came in 1 outing,
right?
And the other came in 1 other. They're kind of right in the middle. They happened a couple weeks ago. So he's had 2 scoreless outings here recently, and before that he had 3 scoreless outings. Like we're getting to the minutia that really doesn't matter here.
No,
in all this.
No.
You give O'Brien the opportunity. He's the guy. His strikeout numbers are very good. 14 strikeouts in 7 innings so far this year. Opponents are hitting just 192 against him. His whip is just a little bit more than 1. So yeah, I think O'Brien's the guy that you look at in the because I have a really hard time believing that Ryan Fernandez is going to be on this roster come Friday.
It's hard to, especially when when you're already hiding from one guy and now you're going to be hiding from 2 guys. You don't have the bodies to do it. And when Matt's pitches in the pen, he typically kind of goes all out in one game, right? So he'll go out there and he'll throw 2, 2.5, 3 innings in a game. Well, then he's shut down for another 4 days. So You're kind of in that same spot where you're playing short. And if it's not him, look, Ryan Ludos is not a big arm, but he's a guy that you can try. I know, Granillo is not on the 40-man. He might be pitching better than anybody down there. Maybe you just find a spot for him.
Yeah, he's put up really good numbers. Here's something I hate, Kevin. I hate it when you are forced to put guys into a situation where they're not able to be their best self, but you're doing it because you're trying to help other areas of the team. We know that starting pitching is 1,000,000 times more valuable than relief pitching. You finally have Steven Matz healthy and pitching at a really high level, and you're forcing this guy into the bullpen because you have this necessity because the rest of the bullpen is not performing. Steven Matz should be in the rotation in a perfect world, but he's not right now. And again, you're taking away from how Matz can best help the team because you just need somebody in the bullpen.
And he's pitched well in both roles. He's done a really good job in both roles. And, they're going to – this is the problem, is that every decision bleeds into another, right? If you're not protecting the bullpen, well, then the bullpen's going to fracture. And if the bullpen fractures, then the rotation's going to have to carry more than it's going to fracture. But if you don't protect the guys in the rotation, the guys that haven't carried a load for a full season, or the older guys that you're trying to keep fresh deeper into the season, well, then if that fractures in June because you're wearing them out now, then you're in trouble again. And I think that lack of wiggle room is really evident at this point. And again, it's going to have to come down. Like, this is it. This is not a demand that I'm about to make. This is just a statement of what I think is a fact. You, as an organization, will not have any choice but to get through this year by showing some trust in the guys you have. And I mean the guys at Memphis too. I mean McGreevy and Graceffo and Granillo and O'Brien. You have to trust those guys or you will not get through this year.
I'm bothered. It's not like I'm going to get on the top of a mountain and just be screaming like a crazy person.
I'll do that.
I'm moderately bothered by the fact that a narrative that has existed since spring, like they even go back to the Rule 5 draft. When they elected not to make any selections in the Rule 5 draft, John Mozeliak said very clearly, well, we want to be able to have a lot of flexibility with the roster.
Yeah.
So they have been talking about flexibility, and they've been talking about moving guys up and down between St. Louis and Memphis since the Rule 5 draft.
Yeah.
That was always part of the narrative of this season. And now they're not doing it, and I just don't understand why.
And maybe they will, right? It took them a little bit to come around on, Roycroft needing to go get a bit of a reset. And by the way, he struggled down there a little bit too. So, he's still trying to find
it. His first outing was, his last time out was pretty good. But, but that happens, guys.
No, it's fine.
Trouble with the big leagues, and they go down and they struggle.
Yes,
That's fine.
It's fine. Yeah. And the whole idea is to get them back. The idea isn't to bury anybody. The idea is to get them back and to also keep from having to ruin other guys or risking that. I mean, again, think about it from this perspective too. If you're not going to make a run and be a playoff contender, Maton could have some value in a trade in July because everybody's looking for relievers in July, but not if he's broken. He's got no value if he's broken. If you're going to break your Helsley rules and start going multiple innings or doing things weird, like he's doing more up downs and he's going to have some problems, you're going to ruin his value too. So you're doing a lot of things at once, but the one thing that's consistent is the willingness to adapt, which is always the thing that I complain about, is a lack of willingness to adapt on the fly. But the lack of willingness to add new bodies and protect some guys is something that could have bigger consequences, even more than what the standings have looked like right now. All right, Matt Pauley, Kevin Wheeler with you here. One more thing. I got to ask you a question. Did the manager send a message today with post-game comments? And also, we'll talk a little bit more about what's coming up in the Milwaukee series in Cincinnati, right here on the Redbird Rush Hour on 104.1 KMOX.
Wesley Financial Group is not a law firm.
Chuck McDowell here. If you were misled or lied to in any way when buying a timeshare, right now is your wake-up call. With the tariffs, economy tanking, and inflation rising, you might need to ask yourself this question. Is owning a timeshare a good idea? With all the economic uncertainty, you need to protect yourself and your family. Don't look back and say, if I'd have only got rid of that stupid timeshare they lied to me about. It's time to stop thinking about canceling your timeshare and finally get rid of it and be smart with your money. At Wesley Financial Group, we've saved 48,000 families an average of $65,000 in lifetime payments. Give us a call. I guarantee if we take you as a client, we will cancel your timeshare permanently or you'll pay nothing.
Call Wesley for your free timeshare exit kit. 800-854-4040. 800-854-4040. 800-854-4040.
So, you want to buy a house. You could go online, do your research, find the dream listing, go see it, and get catfished. Back to the drawing board. More scheduling, more viewings, more. This doesn't even look like the photos. You could finally find one that does match the photos. Then comes the offer. Stress rush? Yep, make that 3. And here's the paperwork. Yep, never-ending paperwork. It's a lot. But you don't have to do it alone. Because there's an agent who's a realtor here to guide and help protect you as you find the home that's right for you. Realtors are members of the National Association of Realtors. Right by you.
Good morning, Doctor. Doctor? Hi, Doctor. Doctor?
Dr. Jackson's practice is growing.
What do you mean we're still short-staffed?
He needs a good patient doctor.
How do we not have enough doctors to doctor all these patients?
And he doesn't have the patience to sift through hundreds of resumes.
I need Indeed.
Indeed you do. When you sponsor a job on Indeed, it's easier for talented candidates to find it, which makes it easier for you to hire them. Visit Indeed.com/credit and get $75 towards your first sponsored job. Terms and conditions apply.
Traffic from the MichaelsFlooringOutlet.com Traffic Center.
There with that accident near Boyle. So that's the good news. Bad news is you're still going to see a pocket of volume at Jefferson, but it is opening up rather quickly. West of there, westbound on Highway 64, you're back on the brakes at Hampton. Eastbound Highway 64, you've got an accident now. It's just right around the bend from the entrance ramp from Clayton Road. So the entrance ramp from Clayton Road onto Eastbound Highway 64 is partially blocked. You have to dodge into traffic there pretty quickly to get onto Eastbound Highway 64. So use some caution. You're seeing some delays eastbound on Highway 64 due to that accident, and those go back to about Big Bend. Southbound 170 are on the brakes now, that left lane, the Parkway down to 64. Southbound 270 just a little off the pace at Ladue Road. Westbound 70 heading out through St. Charles County. Westbound 64, similar story from the Boone Bridge, headed out towards Wentzville as well. I'm Frank Lett on the MichaelsFlooringOutlet.com Traffic Center.
You're listening to the Redbird Rush Hour on 104.1 KMOX.
All right, Matt Pauley, Kevin Wheeler with you on the Redbird Rush Hour here on 104.1 KMOX. Matt, what do you got coming up on Sports Open Line next?
Bernie Miklasz is going to join us at
Nice.
about 6:20 or so. We'll also talk some Blues hockey. Hockey Amy Markscourts is going to.
Hockey Amy's back.
Hockey
Amy was
Amy's
back on Twitter the other night.
She was. So we'll have a Hockey Amy appearance this evening.
That's awesome, man. Looking forward to that. For those that don't really know, I mean, Amy does the midday show, Chris and Amy, but she covered the Blues during the Stanley Cup run for KMOX. So obviously hockey's right, and played hockey. Of course, I don't want to short
She knows
the
puck.
career. Yeah, she knows what she's talking about. That'll be fun. I'm looking forward to hearing that. All right, so I'm going to read this, and I'm going to throw it out there because I had people react in a certain way, and I reacted a little bit to it too. But what the manager said after the game about the bullpen, what Ollie Marmol had to say was this. He said, "This is what we have, and we have to get them back on track. There's nothing coming from down below where it's going to change what's going on up here. We have to get these guys better, and the only way is for them to pitch. It's absolutely frustrating. But damn, we're going to keep going with them. We've got to continue to encourage them. We have to help get them to the other side of this. It's part of the game." I took that, and I know some of my peeps on Twitter took it that way too, that this felt almost like a bit of a message, like a call for help is what it felt like. And I don't know that it was intended that way, but it sure sounded that way.
Well, what it tells you is there's nobody at Memphis they trust with the innings that matter. So whether it's Matt Swanson not pitching or Riley O'Brien not pitching or Gordon Graceffo not pitching, there's a bunch of guys who they're ready to have not pitch. And they are going to go with the guys that they've been going with. Like that, you laugh at that, but isn't that basically what he said?
It's true. But and you know, he's right. If what he's just doing is a statement of fact and saying, look, we don't have an eighth inning setup guy down there. Well, that's true. That's true. I agree with that. But the point is, somebody has to be trusted in the sixth and seventh inning, even if you don't trust them. Like I played the song earlier that was called Trust. I played it for that reason, because sometimes you have to force it until it's there. You can't just say, I don't trust you, you're never going to pitch, because you are going to have the negative impact on the other guys.
Sure. And it hasn't been good for Ryan Fernandez to keep getting thrown out there. You were in a spot that you've used Phil Maton so much that now you need 3 straight days of him not being available. Now, luckily, one of those days tomorrow is an off day, but after pitching 13 of 23, he was off yesterday, he's off today, and then he gets the off day tomorrow. You should never be in a spot with a relief pitcher where they need 3 days off, unless it's a long guy, unless it's like Steven
Right,
Matz
like he throws 3 or
cover.
4 innings. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
But generally speaking, if it's the standard 1+ guy, you should never be in a spot where you need 3 days for him to get right.
No, but in some cases here, like Leahy, he threw 3 days in a row. So he's probably, I don't know if he's going to be available Friday or not. He's young, so he'll probably say he's available. Right? I mean, like the younger guys tend to be the ones that are like, well, I'm going to do it because I want to win a job. I want to prove myself. And the other guys, sometimes you learn to be smarter because you learn what your body can and can't handle. And I think that there's no easy solution. I think that's the point. An interesting point to make here is that there's nothing where you can just say, just do this and it's fixed. There is no answer like that. And if that's what Ollie was saying, I completely agree with that. But it doesn't mean you can't try.
Yeah.
Right.
And I think people listening know that I'm an Ollie Marmol guy. I think he's a good manager. I don't agree with every move he's made. I would have done some very different things with the bullpen here recently than he has done. But I think the bottom line is, again, when you look at the guys he threw out there today, when only one of them is effective, and there's only been 3 guys who have been effective, and one of those guys is your closer who you're not going to throw in other spots, it just really handcuffs them.
Yeah, it's a tough spot to be in. You're 5 games under 500. You could be a winning team if your bullpen was doing even a decent job. Not great, just a decent job. Which I don't know if that's encouraging or discouraging. I don't know if you're like, well, you could be better, because I don't see a real answer to it coming. And that's the harder part is, unless you just catch lightning in a bottle and you call up Riley O'Brien and he just clicks. And yeah, I wouldn't bet on it, but it certainly would be one of those things that could change the dynamic a little bit. All right, buddy, have a great show tonight. Looking forward to listening. Right. You got baseball. You got a little Blues. They're playing tomorrow night, by the way, off tonight, playing tomorrow night. Looking forward to catching Sports Open Line here in a little bit. We'll have another Redbird Rush Hour coming up tomorrow. Everybody else have a great night. And hopefully after the off day, we have some answers. And tomorrow we'll talk about what's going on and give you an update heading into the weekend here on the Redbird Rush Hour on 104.1 KMOX.
Welcome to Willie's Wings, home of the secret sauce.
I'll take